Ladies and gentlemen, on today's podcast, we have the privilege of welcoming Alex, a true visionary and pioneer in the realm of remote work and job flexibility. For nearly a decade, Alex thrived as a dedicated employee, climbing the corporate ladder, enjoying inv- inviolable pay, and relishing in the camaraderie of his colleagues. Yet, amidst this success, he felt a string for something more, a touch of audacity, the thrill of unpredictability, and above all, the allure of freedom. In a bold move, Alex embarked on a journey of self discovery, bidding farewell to the comfort of his job and relocating to Spain. But his story doesn't end there. In the midst of a global pandemic, when most sought security, Alex dared to defy the norm. Teaming up with a colleague who shares his vision, he embarked on a daring venture, the inception of Jobgather, a groundbreaking platform for remote first companies. Driven by a shared conviction that the future of work is flexible, Alex has in team navigated the landscape in the COVID era entrepreneurship, witnessing firsthand the seismic shift towards remote employment. Their mission to revolutionize the job market by prioritizing flexibility, empowering individuals to choose not just where they work, but when and how they work. Beyond his entrepreneurial pursuits, Alex's passion extends to classic cars, real estate, and sports. But above all, he treasures meaningful conversations and invites you to connect with him on LinkedIn for a chat. So, without further ado, let's dive into the inspiring journey of Alex, the co founder of Jobgather, and explore the future of work through his visionary lens. Welcome, Alex. How are you?
What an introduction. Thank you, Sagar, for the invitation. I'm really good, thank you, and I'm excited to share my journey with you today.
So, Alex, when I say the word future of work, what are the first few things that come to your mind?
For me, I would say flexibility and work-life balance. For many years, I mean, up to the COVID times, really, um, work was something that we had to do in a specific location. Okay, and your personal life was always second, in terms of priority. Because if you had to take your kids to school, for example, well, you couldn't because you had to be in the office at 9 o'clock, and that's how it was. Um, and that's just one of many examples. I don't think COVID actually changed things, but I think COVID accelerated this change in a way that finally, and me first, we all realize that life shouldn't be about work only. Yes, we have to work, of course, but we also have to live. And living means, spending time with your family, with your friends, um, you know, doing things that you like, following your dreams, your passion. And I think what's happening today, it's a major shift in the role of work in our lives. And with remote work, among other things, we finally are able to have a much better balance between the time that we spend at work and the time that we spend with things that we truly want, truly like. And of course it's going to be a hard shift, and we are seeing companies going back to the office. We are seeing like a war between the talents and the employers, because it's not only affecting the way we work, but it's affecting the way we actually live. Work, how many hours do we spend at work every day? 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. That's a lot. If we sleep for 8 hours, we have 16 hours during the day. We spend at least half of that at work. We all probably spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our kids or partners. So yeah, it's a major shift. It will take some time, but for me, future of work, it's all about flexibility and a better work-life balance.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing that. So what exactly was running in your mind when you decided to make this shift? Reason being, you know, everyone say there's a conflict between the right brain and the left brain. How you made it possible? Because I understand what it takes to leave a, let's say, a high paying job or a career and do something, this. So how was that for you?
Yeah, it's a funny story looking back. It was a bit scary at the time, but yeah, I had a really good job, really good colleagues, really good employer, really good salary. However, I was not really happy at work anymore. I was, you know, in the morning when I was waking up, going to work was not excited anymore. And at the time I was 33 or something like this. I was like, I've got two options. Option one, which sadly it's what we see more often, is I keep this, good life, good job, good salary. From the outside, everything was good. But I'm not really happy. And what's going to happen in 20 years' time or 30 years' time? I'm going to look back and see like, wow, I've just stayed somewhere that I, didn't really enjoy. What's the point of spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day, some like, in a place where you're not really happy? So that was the option one. And if I was, hearing people around me, that's what people push you to do. Oh, but don't take too much risk. You have a daughter, you have a mortgage, this and that. Just stay where you are. And option two was just leave that place and find something better for me, Um, and since I'm young, I think I've always been in a situation where I like to take risks, and I think that's what excites me. And yes, sometimes you lose, and I would say sometimes you learn. So I just one morning wake up and I just called my ex manager at the time, and I just told him I'm just gonna quit after 9 years in a business. I had nothing ready. I had no CV ready. I had no interviews lined up. The only thing that I knew was I would move to Spain in the next month, and all that happened um, 2 weeks before lockdown happened. So yes, it would be scary, but at the same time, I always think in my mind everything will be fine. So I was not that worried.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Alex, I can completely relate to this. Maybe we can have this conversation because I have been through similar experiences. But today it's about you. So I just have a quick question here. Out of the objectives, I know, you're still in this journey. There's the journey still on, and the journey is going to be, you have to make this journey richer. What are some of the benefits that you are enjoying today in this transition? And I understand that it also comes with its own set of challenges, and I would want you to highlight that as well.
Yeah. When you start your business, whatever you do, you can become a freelancer, you can start a SaaS company, you can start a marketplace like we do. Doesn't matter what you do, but when you start your own business, sometimes, especially on LinkedIn, it seems that, oh, that's just the way to go. That's an easy way to earn a lot of money and to be happier. That's not. Trust me, if you want to earn good money, be an employee. That would be much easier. Um, so it as you said, it comes with a lot of challenge. So you have to be ready for them. You know. Um, However, for me, I usually say, being an entrepreneur is, being in a roller coaster with the head upside down 99% of the time. But the 1% makes it up, so much for the remaining 99%. So in my opinion is, if you want to launch something, if you want to become an entrepreneur or to become a freelancer, you need to know why you're doing it. For me, first of all, the pride of doing something that is mine. Of course, I'm not alone. I've started Jobgether with Juan from day one. Now we are four co-founders. We are a team, and of course, it's not just my project. It's the project of everyone. We are all of us building something. But still, it's the pride of saying I'm doing something. Myself. Um, so you have a true say on the strategy of the company, of course, as a co-founder. When you are an employee, depending of where you work, you usually don't have much power, and your voice is not always heard, which could be really frustrating. When you are launching your own company, you decide not alone, and you have to sometimes, argue and make compromise, but you are truly part of the strategy. Okay. Um, then for us, when we launched Jobgether, so it was during lockdown, we were full remote from day one, for many reasons, and I can come back to that later. But today, being a fully remote company really helps me to, to just spend my day the way I want. Sometimes I would wake up early and start to work at 7. Not often. I'm not a morning person, but sometimes, it's good that I do that. One week out of two, I have my daughter with me. For example, this week I have her. So in the morning, I have time to spend time with her in the morning. I will take her to school, come back, and then work. And again, around 5 o'clock, I will go and pick her up and spend the evening with her. And because the week I have her, I spend more time during the day with her. It will be more likely for me to work at night. Once she goes to sleep around 9, then I will work again. You know, so it's really helping me to balance this work life and personal life. Um, and yeah, so for me, that's, I would say, the main benefits. The challenges, to also talk about it, is, we didn't pay ourselves for the first 2 years, zero. So it is hard. So luckily, with my job before, I saved money so that I could have a bit of saving. But what does it mean? That means you don't go on holidays, you don't go to the restaurant, you don't buy clothes, you don't really do much. So your social life is impacted, and sometimes it's frustrating when you see your friends. Oh, I'm going on holidays, wherever. No, my holidays for the last 4 years, I've been going to my parents' house. Um, so that's something that could be frustrating, especially when you were an employee before and you had a salary and you were used to have like a certain lifestyle. You're not going to have that at the beginning, of course. And that's what I wish to everyone. Once things start to pick up and you can pay yourself, you know at the beginning it would be a small salary, and then it would be bigger. Then you know you could get your lifestyle back, but that's not going to happen at the beginning. So that's something also to take into consideration, when you launch something. And of course, you work much harder for the first, now I would say not as much, but at the beginning it was work every night, all weekends. You just work all the time because
Yeah,
no one's here to do the job for you. At the beginning, you are just a few people. You don't have money to pay employees. You don't know how to do it. Well, no one's going to do it for you, so you just learn. I've learned
yeah,
so much. I'm like a salesperson. However, I learned so much about so many different skills because no one else is here to do it. So that's
mm,
difficult, but at the same time, for me, was exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed, to be challenges. So I basically challenge myself every day, and I learn so much every day. you know and again,
wonderful.
putting the hard work doesn't mean that you will succeed. Nine
Hmm.
companies out of 10 die the first year. So you also
Yes,
need to be, aware that yes, to succeed you need hard work, but hard work is not the only condition to succeed,
yeah,
which could be really
yeah,
frustrating, but that's how it is.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Absolutely, Alex. Absolutely, for making that point. So, Alex, what is a big gap that Job Gather is trying to fill globally? It would be great, if you talk about it.
yeah. So um, Jobgether, we are today we have the largest inventory of fully remote jobs. Okay.
Wow.
On the website, we have around 175,000. truly remote jobs, okay, available. No hybrid, all remote. Okay. When we decided to launch Jobgether, we realized that, as I mentioned before, since COVID, people realized that they want more flexibility. They want more, remote options. However, when you look at the big platforms, the LinkedIn, the Indeed, they are not made for remote. And the reason why is they work per country. Let me take an
Hmm.
example. You,
Yep.
Shaga, you are based in India. So let
Yep.
me take an example. You tomorrow want to find a remote job. Okay.
Yep.
You want to
Yep.
stay in India because that's where you are, that's where your family is. You don't want to move country. Okay. If you go to the main platform, the LinkedIn, the Indeed, and you type whatever, head of marketing, remote India, you will mostly see Indian companies hiring people remotely from India. I
Yeah.
would say you like India is a big country, so you could potentially find a good remote job with an Indian company. Okay. However, today, especially with the technology that we have, why would you limit yourself to work for an Indian company? You could
Yes.
easily work for an American, a German, a Japanese, or whatever company remotely from your country. You don't even have to be in a big city anymore. You can be living in a countryside in a remote part of India and be working for a German company. However, in these main platforms, you will not find these opportunities because
Hmm.
how do the big platform work if you are an employer? Let's say now I am the German employer and I want to find someone remotely from anywhere in the world. I don't mind where the person is. If you
Hmm.
post the role on LinkedIn, you have the option to put remote, but you have to select one country. So
Hmm.
the German employer most likely will select Germany. So
Hmm.
on one hand, you will have a remote job posting, remote from Germany, and you are in India, you will never find this opportunity. So you will never
Hmm.
be able to apply to this role. You will never be able to get that job. So what we are doing it differently. If I take your example again, on
Yep.
Jobgather, if you type again head of marketing, India, you don't even have to type remote because it's always remote. So you
Yeah.
tap India,
Yeah.
you will not just see remote marketing roles from Indian company, but you will see marketing roles available remotely from India. Doesn't matter where the employer is from. The
Hmm.
employer can be German, can be American, can be
Yeah.
Colombian, or can be whatever.
Yeah.
If they are legally able to hire you from India, you will see that job posting on your search.
Okay.
So, what's helping talents is to just basically find remote job opportunities from companies they probably never heard of and from companies they probably didn't know they could hire you from your own country. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if we have positions they are US remote US only, you Shaga, because you are in India, you will not see these opportunities because you have to be in the US. So we
Hmm.
will not waste your time and we will not, give you, false hope that you can get a job because that job you have to be in the US. So we're
Yeah.
not even showing that to you. So
Yeah.
everyone is, basically not wasting the time by applying to role that you have no chance to get because you are not in that country. Because remote work today, of course, for us, remote work in theory is always global, but for legal reasons, mostly,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes for cultural reasons, the companies sometimes can limit the search, the candidate search, to a country or a region. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's what we're trying to solve with Jobgether.
Wonderful, Alex. Great to get a a zoom in and a zoom out perspective of a big problem that JobGather is trying to solve. Just a quick question, Alex. Uh, in your experience, because I personally find that a biggest advantage for the organization is to find talent across the globe. I think that is a
Yeah,
wonderful benefit.
yeah.
But then, in your experience, how what kind of openness you see in organizations, like Like it's not only about, let's say, India or China or for that matter, but then definitely there is a fundamental understanding that the world is, I have the access to the talent around the world, but how open they are in your experience
Mm.
in getting, people from
Yeah.
across the globe.
Mostly, we're not there yet. Let's
Okay.
be honest, we're not there yet. Um, I think as I said, it goes because of a legal point of view. You know, you're an American company hiring people remotely in South America or in Eastern Europe or in Asia. Legally, from a legal point of view, it could be a bit of a gray area. So some companies don't want to go there yet. And some
Hmm.
companies would just say, we have, you know 20 entities around the world. We are only going to hire people in the countries where we have entities. On a
Hmm.
legal point of view, it's safer for us. Okay. And you have the cultural aspect, where companies, managers, they, I think, and that's my personal opinion,
Yep.
for lack of education, I would say, lack of awareness, lack of culture, they are not willing to work with different people on them. You know,
Hmm.
um, that is changing. The world is becoming global. People travel a lot more. When you go to cities like New York, like London, like Berlin, like Barcelona, you see a million different nationalities. So I think this shift is changing, and it's a good thing because, for example, for me, I live in London. Now I live in Spain. I'm French. I've traveled a lot. I know that you can really well work with, and at Jobgether we have people from South America, from Colombia, we have people from India, we have people from Ukraine, we have people from Portugal. We have a lot of different cultures, and it's working. We know it's working, but not all companies are ready to do that yet. So I think there's a cultural aspect that will take time. Okay, but now with the younger generation traveling a lot more, living abroad, working abroad, I think that will really help this transition to much more global teams. Okay. And the legal point of view, that's something the countries are really working on, the governments with the digital nomad visa that they're really working on. That will also, improve. So to come back to your question, today, what we see out of the 175,000 roles, less than 1% are open to be remote from anywhere. Less than 1%. Okay.
Hmm.
The big majority, I don't have the exact number now, but it's close to 90%. They are only remote in one country. German company hiring people remotely in Germany. Swedish company hiring people remotely in Sweden, and so on. Okay.
Hmm.
And we are seeing cases where, for example, an American company hiring remotely anywhere in South America. Okay. The trends that we see is a lot of American companies, because they know in America it's really expensive, it's really hard to find talents. What they're doing a lot more is hiring people remotely in South America. Different reasons. People there are really good, same time zone for them.
Hmm.
And now people in South America speak really good English. Okay.
Hmm.
So that's one example. Companies in Western Europe start to hire more and more people remotely in Eastern Europe. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, so what we see is the majority of the companies, when they hire remotely in other countries, usually they hire in countries not too far from them. Also,
Hmm.
one of the reasons is, even though they accept full remote, they want to meet, which is a good thing, of course, to meet
Yeah.
sometimes. It could be 2, 3, 5 times a year. They want to meet. If you are an American company and your team is in Australia, in Japan, in Germany, of course it's harder to meet. So that's also one of the reason why they try to be not too far from each other. So yeah, to answer your question, we're not there yet to a fully global remote world. It's improving. It will take time because it goes a lot with cultural, you know, cultural education and awareness, in my opinion.
Yep. Thank you, Alex, for giving insights on some of the ground challenges and ground realities, because it really helps. What advice you have for job seekers who register and who create an account at Jobgether? What kind of approach they should have? What are some of the blind spots that
Yeah.
they should think about to find? Because I think that is where even you would feel success. So just
Yeah.
thought of addressing that.
Yeah. I actually have some tips. Finding a job is difficult. Finding a
Hmm.
remote job is much more difficult. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
Why?
Hmm.
Because every day more and more and more people want a remote job,
Hmm.
and the number of talents looking for a remote job grows much faster than the number of companies offering remote job.
Hmm.
So, you know, every week I just hear from companies saying, "Oh, I've just posted a role 24 hours ago. I already received six, seven, 800 applicants in one day." So what the company is actually doing, they just stop, they just close the role. It's not being published anymore. So first of all, you have to be quick. Okay, set up alerts. Then, as soon as the
Hmm.
role is being published, you know that it might be published only for a few days. So just be quick and apply quickly. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, you need to find the right balance between volume and quality. I always say, don't apply to 200 roles every day. That's just too much. And if you do that much volume, the quality is not there anymore. You would just lose quality. Apply to less roles. You still need a bit of volume, of course, but apply to less roles. You could be applying to 10, 15, 20 a day, but apply to the ones that really matter to you and the one you really want. Okay, do less but do it better. And applying is just one little step that you have to do, and you have to apply through the right channels because that's the process. Okay.
Hmm.
However, imagine the recruiter has a pile of 600 CVs. Okay. If your CV is not in the first 50, it's likely the recruiter will never even check the CV. Okay. So how do you want your CV to go on rank like 158 to the top of the pile? My advice will be to follow up using LinkedIn. Even though I
Hmm.
said that LinkedIn to find remote job is not great, yes, and I still, say that. However, to connect to people, it's the best tool by far, and it's the only tool
Yes.
that we have. So let me take an example. I've just applied to work at Revolut, for example. Revolut is actually our client, is a big employer, really flexible. I will just apply through Jobgether at Revolut, and then I will try on LinkedIn to find one recruiter and the person who could be my potential manager. If you apply to a marketing position, find a head of marketing. Okay. Revolut, they have around 7,000 employees. It will not be easy. And marketing manager, they are probably 50. That's fine. Just try with one or two. Okay. Add these people to your network. You can just do like a short message. Okay. Explaining why you connect to them. And once they accept you, you can follow up with a longer message. Don't send a really long message. It has to be, for me, between 5 to 10 lines, not too long, where you have, and it's a difficult exercise, but in this short message, you have to show that person that you could be the right fit for the role. Okay. So explain, give a bit of context that you saw that role, you guess that this role is for it's for that team, that person, and explain in a few lines why you could be good. You can attach your CV if you want to, but you have to be really sharp with your message and add what we call a call to action. That means add something that the person can do to talk to you. That could be an agenda link. That could be, you can leave your telephone number, your WhatsApp, whatever you decide, but leave a call to action at the end. Okay. And really important, follow up. Sending one
Hmm.
message isn't enough. Send, of course, not after an hour, but maybe after 2 3 days. Oh, by the way, did you check my message? What did you think? You know, it's important to follow up. Okay. If the person is not the right person and the person replies to you, sorry, that's not for my team. Okay, that's good. I'm sorry for that. Can you just send me to the right person? If you don't ask, you don't get. Okay.
Hmm.
doing
Yes.
that doing that exercise, and of course if you apply to 200 roles a day, you can't do that for 200 positions, but if you apply to only 10, you can do that every day for 10 positions. And
Hmm.
maybe you will be talking to a person of the team but not the right manager. That's fine. Ask for a 15-minute chat with the person. You could learn things about the role, you can learn things about the company, you can learn things about the company culture, and maybe you will say, oh, you know what, actually, I don't like the role anymore, and okay, see you later. Or, wow, that's even better than I thought, and that person could recommend you to the right manager. When you reach the right manager, it's quite likely they will say, yeah, talk to HR. Fine, you will talk to HR. However, if you show enough value for that person, and ideally you even had like a 15 minutes call with that person, where do you think your CV will go? It will go to the middle
Hmm.
of the pile, to the top. And the
Hmm.
marketing manager in that case will tell the recruiter, look, I've just had a 5 minute call with Shagar. You better talk to this guy because he's good. I can
Hmm.
guarantee the same day or the next day, you will have a call from the recruiter and you will have your first interview. So,
Hmm.
yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes a bit of work. However, the competition is so big for remote work, you have to stand out from the crowd. If you just apply like everyone else, you will just have like anyone else, zero feedback.
Hmm. Wow. Wow, Alex. Like this is a kind of a mini masterclass that we are having. Thank you for sharing that. Just a quick question here. Uh, is there any difference between? I'm just for making it easy for our viewers because I'm just trying to bifurcate based on their level of, let's say, experience that they have,
Mhm,
0 to 5 or 10. Let's say the second set of job seekers could be in their 30s to 40s, and the third is from 40s to 50s. Okay.
mhm,
Now, Alex, how the approaches could be different from the ones who are in their 30s to 40s and 40s to 50s? I'm just bifurcating it because they have their own level of experience, understanding, have their set of beliefs. So I would want you to, help them as well. Because the reason why I'm asking this is because I know someone like within in your example, and maybe so many of us who have been through that journey, who understand now the value of remote, being part of the remote teams, and who can actually deliver for the remote first companies, and they are now struggling. Okay, how do I,
mhm.
how do I stand out? So what's your suggestion
Yeah.
for them?
And it's an interesting question because I realized over the years that never in our life we are being taught how to apply for a job or haven't how to look for a job. They don't
Yeah.
teach you that at school. And once
Yes.
you actually start working, if you are like a top profile, you can be headhunted and people can actually come to get you, but that only happens to a very tiny part of the people. And otherwise, we just don't know how to look for a job. We are not updated. We don't know which platform to use and we don't know how to do it. So, to answer your question, for me, if you are 25, 30, 50, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Your age,
Okay.
your experience doesn't change anything. The main objective when you look for a new job is to be able to show what you can bring on the table to this employer. Okay. Of course, when you are 25 and you've only worked 6 months in an internship, you have less to bring. But the role you will be applying to don't expect you to have a lot of experience. Of course, if you are 50, if you are working for 25 years, you bring a lot more on the table. but you will also being paid more and you will expect a lot more. So my point is, doesn't matter how long you've been working, the approach should be the same. How can you show your potential next employer the value you can bring to the table? So you need to be really sharp in the messages that you send. I receive every day messages that are like 50 lines long. I'm telling you, I'm not even reading one line. It's just too long. It has to be short and sharp. Okay. You need to make the effort to go and to actually get what you want. As I said earlier, sending a CV and waiting is not working. you know if you want something, go get it. Okay, first, because no one does it, so you will you know naturally stand out, by actually proactively you know doing that. So yeah, go get it, show um, the value you can bring, follow up, that's really important. And I would say, even before that, is create a network. I really wish, when I was
Mm.
studying, so now that's long time ago, 15 years ago, I really wish that someone told me the importance of network. Okay. What I mean
Mm.
network is not just LinkedIn connections. Of course, LinkedIn connection is a way to build your network, but network is connecting with people. Okay. That could be through a Zoom call, that could be having a beer, that could be, in a lot of different ways, but connecting with people. Because when you have a strong network, you can ask these people. For example, if tomorrow I want to work for Revolut, I have contacts working at Revolut. What I can do, I know I can go to these people and ask for advice, for favor, and I know they will do it for me. And so, building a network, of course, LinkedIn is an amazing tool to do it. So connect to people in your world, in your field. Okay, ask for a virtual coffee, 15 minutes. Try to do this exercise once a week, twice a week if you can. It's not much time, but it's a lot of value. Okay. And when you do network, you need to think of two things. Don't expect short term return, otherwise, you will just stop, because
Yeah.
you will not get short term returns. Okay. Building network is a long term game. So don't expect anything straight away. And always have in mind, give first without you know expecting nothing in return. I know
Yes.
it's not how we are being taught in life, which is wrong, but give first and don't expect anything in return. Because if you give first, I guarantee you, if in 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years, you go back to that person and you already gave them something, it could be an introduction, it could be a contact, it could be whatever, they will give something back to you.
Yes. Yes. In fact, this particular aspect is so scientific and spiritual at the same time,
Mm.
because people want to help. People have a deep urge to help. It cannot be, and absolutely right. Absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you, Alex, uh, for sharing that. So, what's stage two for Jobgether? I think it's been 4 years now. So, what are the new things, new events, new initiatives lined up for 2024?
So, I mean, yes, the company is 4 years old, but we are still a young company. Really, the objective that we want. So today we have, by far, as I said, the largest inventory of fully remote jobs. Our competitors, they have 5, 10, 15, 20,000 roles. We have 100 and 75,000. So we want to keep growing the inventory. Every week we are adding thousands of new roles. So all the roles are updated. When the roles are outdated, we just take them off and we just add the new ones. So of course we want to keep growing the inventory. Okay. And a big objective, of course, is being known. So we are already attracting million of talents every month from over 100 countries. So we already have a really global audience, but of course we want to keep growing that audience. We So that's working on the brand to be known by anyone our dream really is tomorrow, if someone in Nigeria or Pakistan or Colombia is looking for a remote role, I want them to think, okay, I'm going to go on Jobgether. That's a big objective, and it will not happen overnight. Of course, we are working on that, but that's really the big goal, because what we want is being able to, and that's already happening, but that's what we want to keep doing, is wherever you live, wherever you are based in the world, we want to be able to offer you a remote opportunity, you know. So already now, wherever you live, you almost always have, you know, job opportunities for you. But of course, if we have more roles listed, we will have even more options for you, you know. And on the B2B side, of course, now, especially in the tech industry, the one hiring remotely the most, they're not going through the easiest time. You know, we've seen a lot of layoffs, we've seen a lot of hiring freeze, um, from these big tech companies. But what we want is being able to help them finding talents wherever they want, because a big challenge for companies today, and where we really bring value today already to companies, is, you know, I don't know, they are a American company, they want to hire people in South America. Well, almost every time they just don't know how to do it, because LinkedIn is not the right tool, Indeed is not the right tool. You have local job board, but if you want to be visible in, you know, the 20 countries of South America, you don't want to be publishing and paying 20 different job boards. So what we want is keep helping these companies to find talents from everywhere. And finally, we also have this advisory part, when we really are here for the companies to help them with the strategy. We share data, we give them advice how to improve their job posting, in which country they could potentially find the better talents. So we really have this advisory part of the business as well that we want to keep pushing.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing about the sites. Just a quick question here on someone who is a job seeker who is uploading his CV on the platform. In the storytelling itself, what are some of the insecurities of the remote first companies one must craft it in the CV so that the CV goes to the top? Because CV, mostly people just talk about themselves, they talk about their achievements and everything. But
Yeah.
then if they're serious about getting a remote first for whatever reasons, how do they craft the message?
In a way, I would say, looking for a, you know, hybrid role or remote, the message on a CV shouldn't be that different. If you apply to a remote role, the company will assume you want a remote position. Okay. Of course, what you can do is, in a way, um, show the company the reason why you want to work remotely, and maybe you can even share that you've done it before, or you have the setup. For example, if I see someone applying to a role I have, for example, and if the person told me, you know, in the brief summary of the CV on top, in 3-4 lines maximum, why they want to work remotely. For example, um, I'm a single mom, and I want to, you know, make sure I have time to look after my baby, for example. Well, I know that person wants to work remotely from the right reasons. She had personal, you know, obligations, and she want to have the flexibility for work to basically, you know, match her personal life. Okay.
Hmm, hmm.
And if that person says to me, you know, I've got a setup at home with, you know, a good Wi-Fi and a good chair and a good desk, and like a good remote
Yeah,
setup, that will
yeah.
also give me, um, in a way, more security, that the person will not be working on the bed with the baby next to them, you know, because working remotely, you need to have the right conditions for it, you know. And sometimes we see in job adverts, we see that they say good Wi-Fi required, you know. For
Hmm.
example, and we had cases, not anymore, but we had cases of people who had terrible Wi-Fi. I know it's not their fault, but you just can't work remotely if you don't have the good Wi-Fi, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So I would say, explain why you want to work remotely. Explain that you know, the importance of a right setup. Okay.
So this is
Um,
in the cover letter or in the CV, like how CV itself, like how?
for me personally, I don't believe in cover letters because I think
Okay.
it's a big of a joke that companies keep asking for cover letters and 99% of the time don't read them. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you can just put that in a CV. And
Mm.
for me to go even further, I would even say something. If you have a good LinkedIn profile, you don't need a CV. I know it's some people will disagree to that, but I strongly believe. For example, for me in my case, yes, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I comment a lot. I do a lot of posting, and I don't need a CV. My LinkedIn profile is much better than a CV. And if someone
Mm.
asks me for my CV, I said, just go on LinkedIn. Everything's there on LinkedIn. You even have much more than what you could get on the CV. My connections, all my publications, my
Mm.
recommendation, everything is on LinkedIn. Of
Yeah.
course, when you apply, still you need to upload CVs, but more and more you see the ability to apply using your LinkedIn profile. So, of
Yeah.
course, we're not going to have time to discuss about LinkedIn today, but having a
Yep.
strong LinkedIn profile, I would even say, is more important than having a good CV.
Alex, what are some of the common blind spots or mistakes? Uh, let's say ultimately it's about storytelling, right? How can one be uh, authentic
Yeah.
and share his or her story with integrity? Because
Yeah.
usually there is a lot of you know dressing up that happens.
Yeah.
So how?
Bullshit. A lot of
Yeah.
bullshit, you can say. No, that's a good point. First of all, when there is a lot of BS, you see that straight away. Okay.
Hmm.
For me, a good CV is not the best CV in terms of experience or in terms of everything looks amazing. It's an authentic CV. Okay.
Hmm.
Be yourself, and if the employer doesn't like your CV, doesn't like you don't want to work for that employer. You know.
Hmm.
So you'd rather be authentic on your CV, and then you will attract a company who wants to work with you. Of who you are. You don't want to
Hmm.
be, because if you lie on a CV just to make it nicer, you're just starting this collaboration with that company with a lie. There's just no point. So
Hmm.
be honest, okay?
Hmm.
Because at the end, I believe, when you lie, people find out, and collaboration just can't work based on a lie. So just be honest and be precise. Put dates. I see a lot of, for example, experience 2022 to 2024. If it's January 2022 to December 2024, it's 3 years. If it's December 2022 and January 2024, it's 1 year. So
Hmm.
be precise. And again, we go back to the don't lie. Be precise. Okay. Um, Put numbers. Really,
Hmm.
doesn't matter what you do. You can be working in sales, in tech, in marketing, in whatever. Put numbers, because numbers are easy to read and easy to remember. Okay. Of course, if you work in sales, it's easy. I've done 1.2 million turnover. I've done whatever. That's easy. But if you work in marketing, for example, in social media, I took the account, we had 22,000 followers, and when I left, we had 200,000 followers, for example. Numbers are impactful and tell a story much more easier than words. Especially on a CV. Remember, people spend 30 seconds. People will go to see the numbers before reading something. Okay, so just put numbers. That's really important. Okay, make your CV at your image. If you work in finance, if you are like a finance sort of person, really strict and just make a CV like you. If you work in marketing, and if you work in you are a creative mind, make a creative CV. You know,
Yeah.
so I always say make a CV that look like you. You don't want to. Of course, you want to match what the company is looking for, but you're not here to lie and to please someone just to get a job. You want to show who you really are. If you are a creative person, put that on your CV. Make your CV with colors.
Hmm.
Um, and one more thing, I could add, I would say, is for me, the section when you talk about you, about your passions, for example, 99% of the time you see reading and traveling. Again, that's BS. Like everyone just say they like reading, they like traveling, and then you ask them what is the last book that you read, and they will tell you Harry Potter 2 years ago. That just makes no sense. um, put what you truly like, you know and doesn't matter what it is. It could be, if it's traveling, put some example. Where did you go? What did you do? Maybe you have a blog on Instagram. Maybe you have, you know if you like reading, make sure that you actually read a book in the last 2 weeks. uh, you can be, for example, you want to put like sport, put which sports. If you say, oh, I like football, when did you went to a football game? Oh no, I never been to a football game. Just makes,
Hmm.
so again, we go back to be yourself and don't lie. you know
Yeah.
uh, and be proud of who you are, because at the end of the day, companies want the right people for them, but they want true people. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the last point is show which value you can bring. Okay.
Hmm.
If you're applying for a social media manager position, make sure you show what you've done in the past, and you can even explain shortly how you've done that, which tools you've used, which strategy you've done, okay, to grow from 20 to 200,000 followers, for example, because people want to know what you can bring to their company.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, thank you for structurally addressing this point. Thank you, Alex. When a gatekeeper, let's say a recruiter or the HR, representative, when they go through a CV, they watch it from a pure technical lens or they follow the SOPs. But when the CV goes to, let's say, in a startup, to a founder,
Mhm.
or if somehow the CV reaches directly uh, to the decision maker, they view the CV differently. So what advice you have for the gatekeepers? Because in my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes good candidates do not go through the decision makers because of some uh, some discrepancies. So what are your thoughts on this, and does it happen?
Yeah, of course it does. And even sometimes you can go further. CVs are being selected through an automatic, like ATS, the applicant tracking system that company use. So it's not even a person, checking your CV. Um, Easy answer. What I said before: go and do network with
Hmm.
the hiring manager,
Yeah.
because, and I've seen that many times. If you go through the hiring manager and if you make a good impression and if you show the value you can bring, that person will put your CV on top of the pile. The recruiter might have said no to your CV because, first of all, you need to understand recruiters is a really hard job because they need to hire in the same week one tech person, one marketing, one sales, and one product.
Hmm.
Recruiters, they can't know everything. They can't
Yep.
be as good in marketing as the marketing manager. So sometimes they will miss things. And
Hmm.
I've told you before, in remote, companies are receiving, could be 4, 5, 600 CVs in 24 hours. So they just check CVs so quickly, they will miss out on things. If you go to
Hmm.
the hiring manager and you show, and you are really sharp in your message and you show the value you can bring, the manager will see that value straight away. And then we'll tell the
Hmm.
recruiter, oh, by the way, talk to Shagar. He's really good.
Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
that's the best way to do, because of course you need to personalize your CV based on what you apply for. but you will not make a completely different CV every time. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So make sure, and that's why for me, I told you earlier, I don't like cover letters.
Hmm.
However, I really like a short message with your application. It
Hmm.
could be an email or it could be directly in the application, like a short message where you just say, in for me, 3 to 5 lines maximum, you just show which value you can bring to that specific job offer. And
Yeah.
again, if the recruiter still doesn't see your value, go to the hiring manager.
Yeah. 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 Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. I think I just feel that we are just 15 minutes into the conversation, but it's already an hour. I think I would love to have you once again, and we have to do a part two because I have
Yeah.
so many questions for you. But thank you so much, Alex. I think we covered a lot in this brief time. We learned about Jobgather's mission. We understood your journey. We understood some of the areas where you're helping remote first companies from a B2B standpoint. We also learned and received wonderful insights on presenting your CV and how to connect the dots using LinkedIn, and of course creating an efficient LinkedIn profile
Mhm.
irrespective of wherever you apply. Thank you, Alex. So before we end this conversation, do you have any closing comments for our viewers, and what is the best platform for viewers to connect with you?
Uh, Easy. It's LinkedIn. That's the only social media that I use. LinkedIn. Just follow me, connect with me. If you have questions, send me a message. I'll, unless you are selling me something that I don't need, I will always reply to you. I will always take the time to reply to you. So yeah, please feel free to connect with me. And no, as I said, the job market is difficult at the moment, especially in the remote world. It is difficult. However, if you do things that no one else does, like going to the hiring manager, create content on LinkedIn, stuff like this, you can really stand out and you can really make your life easier, get that remote job, and get a much better work-life balance. So don't give up, but you need to do the extra mile to stand out. And Shagar, for you, thank you very much for inviting me. It was really nice to share a bit of my journey and some tips, and I hope it was useful to job seekers.
Yes, absolutely, Alex. It's the beauty of a heart-to-heart conversation is how we feel is the same way audience is going to feel. So I'm pretty confident about all the insights they have received from you, and to the viewers. A big thank you for always joining and listening to the conversation. And yes, I promise I am going to continue this mission of sharing and talking about future of work. And in one of the many goals that I have, I would also want to see a global community where people work remotely. So thank you everyone.
Thank you, Shagar.